First said yesterday there was a misunderstanding, so I'm really here on the holidays, and this has nothing to do with my work nor my employment. So this is actually my very first presentation, and again thank you Per for giving me that opportunity. I hope you all are gentle, given that it's my very first public presentation. You might have seen my name, like Per said, given the work list that I published 3.5 years ago, which back then I thought was just something fun to do, and I would put up on my blog and have maybe 10 visitors or something. But it turns out that after 3 years, people are still talking about it. I see talk in backtrack forums, aircraft forums. There have been conferences about about other things, but mentioning my work list at other big conferences like DEFCON or the Microsoft Digital Crimes Consortium. So it was the opinion of some people in the beginning that it's actually evil to publish a list of words, but I think that after 3 years we can believe that it proved to be quite useful, and I'm here today to talk about and release a new word list, which I hope you will find much, much better.
You can probably also use the microphone.
Oh, sorry. So, can everyone hear me so far in the back?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
okay.
Okay. Oh, much better. Okay, so as I was saying, you might have seen my name in that word list. You might have also come across my blog, which for various reasons also I haven't updated in a long time. But there are some ideas that if someone else has the time, I would like to see implemented, like third-party versioning system where you consider the server to be possibly compromised and things like that. You might have seen me mostly idling on IRC or just talking nonsense in hash security and some assembly channel. Actually, there's if you have some of these installed on your computer, there's a better chance that your computer knows me better than you do. So. I also have a Twitter account, like I said in the abstract. I just post there once in a while about trusted computing, crypto, defense in general, etc., and highly technical stuff like that, which is apparently my most retweeted tweet by far. About my presentation, what I would like to do today is to put out the idea that we can disagree with the general consensus in terms of security, password security, and encryption and things like that. So I will mention some talks that other people are doing here, and please don't take it personally. I believe that it's through debate that we can make progress, and a lot like in crypto, I think you will agree. Sorry, you hear me breathing otherwise. So yes, like it says on the screen, some password policies, and like other people have pointed out before, in the end, you will end up preventing users from using a secure password and encouraging them to use something that is terrible. Like this is actually, if you are familiar maybe with the UK government, this is a screenshot from a UK government site for license registration, and it's very restricted. You can only use between 8 and 12 characters. So I don't know why it has an upper limit on the length. But that's the way it is. So being French, I can't even make fun, have something easy to remember, like lollet driving on the left. Okay, well, like it says, I can't use the word password in the password, but the second or one of the most popular terrible passwords let me in with the one with the work. That's a joke that's circulating on the internet and about these restrictions, and it circulates on the internet like the blonde is stupid in this case, but her password is actually quite secure. I think we had Pete Weasel earlier saying that it wouldn't even be cracked by some tools. So if you include 8 characters and 1 capital in a password like that, maybe it's good, but the policies would not allow you to do that. Also, well, today maybe you've seen the local Wi-Fi connection. So it has these requirements that have, well, the usual ones. But then I put a long password with all the requirements, and they told me, well, it's a bad password because there is no special character in the first 8 characters. So what does that mean? Does it mean it's truncated at 8 characters? And is it some sort of LM hash or something? And also, once it's taken your new password into account, it says changes will be applied within 4 hours. So if while you were having lunch, I looked at all your passwords and you think, oh, maybe I should have changed it before lunch, or I should do it now as soon as possible, well, you're still not secure because you'll have to wait for tonight, maybe. So again, you also have the password expiry policies that if you work on secure networks, you will be familiar with, where you are required maybe once a month or once in 2 months, etc., to change your password. And at first, when you are asked to choose a password, you think of something very personal, something that you can easily remember, but also that's something that is only for you to know, and as a confidence to the system in which you are putting it. But then if you are required, especially if you have to connect it to air-gapped network, so you will have to choose many passwords and change them regularly, in the end you will most likely, or most people I mean, will run out of personal things to use as a password, and they just resort to terrible stuff like the monster or the model of their laptop right in front of them, which still validates the password policy, but is here for everyone to see. Otherwise, if you manage to, by auditing your passwords, etc., if you really force them to use a really strong password and they have to remember many of them, then they just start writing them down on post-its, like you must have seen everyone. So apparently some people are quite inventive. It's not just on the monitor, so you can have under the desk and everywhere. And actually now you can even buy dedicated notebooks for then I don't know, it's helping someone who would get to your stuff. You can put everything, the security question, the website address, etc. So if we get to your drawer or your bag, then it's conveniently organized. Otherwise, if you just put it on the wall, it's obviously for everyone to see. But it also gets captured on television. Here it's ESPN, the American sports channel, with the passwords in the back. But then it's in the doorway, it looks like a doorway, I mean, so maybe you think, okay, they called to that guy and they did a quick interview, so maybe they didn't think to remove that password from the wall. But then if you do a sitting interview, like here, well, obviously this was organized, they took the chairs, they decided the orientation, they put nice stuff on the computers. Why didn't they wipe the whiteboard with the password? 2 passwords actually in the right. Or even in the military actually, that's the, if you recognize Prince William from the British royal family,
posing for a photo shoot. This happened recently, and they published themselves, so the UK government, high-resolution pictures with a password on the upper left, which is a password for access to military VPN accessible from the internet. So, thanks. And also in pen testing experience, maybe you saw it yourself, and that's not something you can really put as a screenshot here, but I've seen even worse than the usual, where you just put a live CD and get quick access to the files on the computer and crack the domain admin password, etc. Once I saw all the network admins had created a network folder where they would just write notes, like the password to all the web servers, and even store databases, backups of user credentials. So after like 15 minutes, you have all the password from everyone in a large network, and it's not even fun anymore. True story. So of course, we cannot really say, okay, let's forget about putting special characters and changing passwords regularly, etc., because then it would be even worse or just as bad. That's just by human nature, in fact, because we cannot use our brain yet as reliable storage. It's not Johnny mnemonic yet. So people will try to use a password as simple as possible and reuse the same one everywhere. Also, that's the reason I created my word list in the beginning, the Wikipedia word list. It's because dictionary attacks have been around for a long time. Everyone knows about them, but apart from inventive people, it would be mostly done with language dictionaries. And of course, when you are asked to choose a password, you just look around, and for example, here there's a monitor called Crestron or something. I've never seen that thing before, but maybe someone who's asked to choose a password here will think to use that as a password. And it's most likely not in an English dictionary, or maybe not in a Norwegian dictionary, etc. So it's a bad password. It's for everyone to see, but it cannot really be really detected by a simple word list. So yes, that's the idea for creating the Wikipedia word list, because things like that are not in language dictionaries are actually discussed on Wikipedia, or most likely, of course, not all of them, but many, many of them. So yes, you would need a word list for every possible word ever, which is quite impossible to achieve. Actually, I heard this morning someone mentioned that Google was working on this, I think it was yesterday, Norbert, about also engrams, etc., thanks to the books that they are scanning. But even, maybe I don't know if they are doing that, but by crawling all the websites on the internet, maybe they could put together a much, much better word list. But anyway, I don't have these means, this kind of resources, so I found that just using the Wikimedia website, so that's Wikipedia, Wikibooks, and all of them here, which represents a huge data, was actually very, very good. And I've seen, with comments I get from everyone using it, apparently it's great, good stuff. But the problem then is, how do you take words from that? Can you see the problem in the Burmese? Or, well, this one's more obvious. I guess everyone knows that in Chinese, every character is more like a word, if I understand correctly. Or even though there are some commas here and there, it's not really obvious how you turn that into words, even if you use spaces and punctuation. And that's just one screenshot, but it's actually separate Wikimedia sites, the Chinese, classical Chinese, etc. So it's lots and lots of data that's actually I don't know how to process, or maybe it's not even possible to process. Other languages that you might have never heard of, but are used by millions of people, so languages like that. Here it looks like you can split based on spaces, but it's not words actually, it's sentences. So do we really want that in a word list? Maybe not. Same thing with Japanese, Korean, and Lao and Thai. This one's really condensed. If you try to split that based on spaces, you'll end up with very, very long words. So I put together manually by checking by learning about linguistics and the characteristics of all languages. I put together a list of 270 languages that actually use separation between words, and the other ones, for the moment, I left out because, like you can see on the Microsoft themselves, who have people dedicated to that, say it's more like a guessing game. Also, compared to the previous word list, where it was very easy to just take the HTML dump and basically do links -dump, if you know that command, which gives you basically the text out of an HTML page. And now they are providing XML, like Norbert said as well. And the problem is that every tool I've tried to load the whole document, the whole XML document in memory before just giving me the content that I wanted, which is basically the title and the text. So it's funny to watch them all crash. We're trying desperately to load 42 gigabytes, unless you have a really nice computer, but I don't. And so I wrote my own XML path, and also you have to convert XML entities, which is no big deal. I'm just listing them here because you'll see after for HTML. Another huge problem is actually the wiki markup syntax, where if you search for hours on the internet and on Wikipedia and the MediaWiki website and discuss with the developers, they'll tell you, well, basically, if you want accurate information, just read the source code, which is something like 20,000 lines of code. Of course, Wikipedia has a page with many suggestions for alternative parsers and libraries, so I think great. But of course, everyone has a note that, oh, it doesn't work since we changed this and that, and or doesn't do what I want. So also another thing that looked easy to do was just, well, let's forget everything about the syntax. Let's just take out everything that is between these bracket braces and chevrons, but still that doesn't really work. And once you have finally managed to deal with the syntax, you find that actually people who modify Wikipedia, or like people who write HTML pages, or if they still do it, then they write incorrect syntax and push it on the internet. So it's hard to realize also that you've skipped 1 gigabyte just because someone forgot to close one of the opening tags and your password's just skipping and skipping. Well, like I was saying, you have these entities, which you might be familiar if you speak a different language, where in HTML you can use that. It's quite convenient for writing accented letters, but in HTML5 now they have put together more than 2,000 entities. So you're quite happy when you realize you also have to write that in order to get words and not cut them with entities in the middle. They can also, people can just write any Unicode character using a decimal and hexadecimal. And like for the syntax, incorrect syntax, then you have lots of junk that is just there because people forget to put the http:// or even the slash after the TLD. So that's lots of code just to weed out the junk. Yes, regarding the talks this morning about extracting words, etc., it's much more complicated than just splitting based on the spacing and punctuation. I think I might have done that for the first word list, which is one of the reasons I'm ashamed of it, because it's you'll see the content compared to the new one is really terrible. And there are stuff I personally had never heard of before, where you can basically include special characters in the middle of your long words as hints for line break. So, of course, if you don't treat that, then you'll end up breaking words. And then vandalism. So once you have everything working, so I don't know if chololo, etc. is a word, or maybe you think, okay, so many R's should be, when you have many times the same letter, maybe you should ignore it. So here's a question for you. Who thinks the first one is junk? Well, you all know it's a trick, or... Okay, well, who thinks any of them here is junk?
The second one is the city name.
Yeah. So everyone thinks it's all the correct data.
Last one is junk.
Yeah, correct. They are all good except the last one. So the first one is actually a movie, a bad movie. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but yeah, just it being French, it's bad enough. And guy over there said it's actually a city in Wales, and it looks random. So I would be interested to see what Markov chains, etc., n-grams would say about so many W's in the name. It looks like it would be even impossible to pronounce, but once you understand that in Welsh the W is actually pronounced U, then it's a lot more easy to pronounce it, and you can actually pronounce it like it suggests. This is actually a picture of the train station there, and they have the translation for the visitors underneath. And the third one is the name of a hill in New Zealand. So it's a really, really long word. Maybe you could use that as a crypto passphrase. Insecure one, but it's quite long, and it does belong in the Wikipedia word list. So, in terms of, yes.
That's it.
Yes, so it's really not easy to just take out the junk out of that, because this word appears only a couple of times in Wikipedia, and like it says, it's, well, that's how I think I first started to talk with you. It's because it helped crack Per's colleague passwords, and well, it would have been a pity to omit it from the word list. So basically what I did, compared with the previous word list where I included everything, even with single occurrences, this one here includes from 2 occurrences, so it's still junk that is duplicated between articles, and it doesn't include some real words that are in smaller wikis, so it's still not perfect. So anyway, that's a comparison of the previous word list, which was quite large. It was 700 megabytes was decompressed, and if you open it with less or Notepad, you would see it's really full of junk. So the new one is much, much smaller. I hope you don't hate me for making it actually an executable. Well, for Windows and source code for all operating systems. And the new stuff is actually, we include alphanumeric characters, so stuff like Blink 182 and 30 Rock, or numbers, which are popular names for bands and TV series, and are now part of the word list, and they weren't before. and also the quality is much better. So now, yeah, since it's an executable, I thought, well, what can we do with it that mandates the user of actually a program instead of just data? And since many people have been asking me in the previous word list for separate data for different languages, like just a Spanish word list, just a German, etc., then, well, I wanted to find a way to include it in the word list, so it's present as big files, these bits. It's just a mask where every bit says, okay, it's in French or it's not in French, and here in Croatian or not in Croatian, etc. So, because that's public information, if you know me just a bit, you will know that I'm half French, I'm half Croatian. I do speak both languages, but I live in the UK, so I have a British keyboard. So it's unlikely that I would use a French word with an accent or a Croatian word. So now you can try to break the password more efficiently by just selecting those languages. Also by selecting my key map, so you don't get all the French letters that are accented or Croatian letters with special characters. And also, that was comments I saw in the aircrack and backtrack discussions where people saw it was lots of junk in my previous word list, and they cleaned it to just keep everything that's usable as a WPA passphrase. So here it says directly an option. You can say, well, you're trying to crack my Wi-Fi password, so you just type all that and that will help you. And some measures to give you an idea. So it's really useful to not just do English, of course, because well, if you have to deal with various users or users that are open to international culture, with travel or speak different languages. So that's actually a lot of data you have to account for in other languages. As you can see, the German Wikipedia has more words than the English one. And the French one is the third one in the top. Well, it's almost 2 times smaller, but still a lot of words. And even in Norwegian, that's not a word. Oh, and because it's data from November 2012, then you get passwords. So yes, well, pair of things, I'm a big fan of Justin Bieber, so now you get these special passwords that are not present in the previous word list. So we have, well, I'm sorry, I haven't had time to put it on a proper web hosting service, and I'll do that later, but if you want it now, you can basically copy that extension on the link, and well, we'll put links later if you want. So anyway, so that's a lot of data, but does that really help? Because it still doesn't have many words that maybe a new brand will come out tomorrow, become popular, a new TV series that people would use as their password, which is a bad idea, but we still cannot detect it until I renew my word list, and so far I've been doing it once every 4 years, which is not so great. Even if with auditing, you find that you force people to use secure passwords, then you still have the problems of people who will type it instead of the username, then maybe a colleague looking over the shoulder can see the password. You also have it's quite common actually, in shell history, so not just like SQL history or really the common history with a parameter, but people who would type looking at their keyboards, they type sudo some comment, but they don't realize there was a syntax error or something that's just returned and didn't ask for the password, and then they type the password, press enter, and now it's stored in the bash history or whatever shell that has a history. What's even more fun is that webmasters, for example, sometimes have their home directory as the website root directory. So if you just go to that website and do /.bash_history, you might download the guy's history from his shell, and if he's clumsy, then you'll get his passwords and sometimes root passwords to many servers, and so even if it's secure, it's lost this way. There's also the classical problem of just using password as a parameter, and then it appears in the list of processes for other users on the system to see. Also, people who let machines automatically remember passwords on a public computer or somebody else's computer. I don't know if it's still the case, but some web browsers at least used to, once you have told them to say, okay, yes, please remember passwords for me, then they will never tell you they are remembering passwords. So if someone is using such a system, they think maybe they just typed it once, but it was actually stored in the system. Also, all the problems of distributing passwords in clear text by email, or people talking on the phone and having to give the password over the phone or in a conversation and other people hear. And also, that was something that was pointed out by a good friend, that even if you have super secure passwords, you might just end up ruining it with having a terrible security question. So you had big high-profile cases like Sarah Palin that had her email account hacked into just because she used apparently her dog as the security question, and that was data available on Facebook. So when you really want people to avoid that, you actually have to ask them to make sure that there are no persons around, or cameras or microphones, and especially if you go into more paranoid considerations, lasers or antennas for tempest compromising signals. Of course, you have to look for hardware keyloggers or software keyloggers and insecure communications, and also, like Per was discussing on his Twitter, sometimes just the fingerprints or the smudges on pin pads, for example, make the password obvious. So I realize, of course, it's not the problem of everyone, but maybe we can all agree that it doesn't require you to change anything, basically, if you don't really have to worry about such threats. But maybe it would be a good idea to start calling password authentication more of a convenience, to make it easy for people who don't really have to care about security, than to continue calling it a security feature, because now you meet every now and then people who think, okay, I have a Windows password, that's perfect, I'm super safe. So before I go into more considerations about further from the subject, do you have questions maybe on this part so far? Okay. So, of course, apart from, I started looking into also experimenting with Markov chains, etc., just quickly with the Wikipedia word list. And recently, with the US elections, you could think that people who are highly partisan, they would have Barack Obama is my hero, or Barack Obama for president as their password. But if you look at the top 4, top 5 likelihoods of continuing from one word to the other, I did also 2 crunch, 3rd crunch, etc., but it's impossible to just fit on a slide. So you can see here that it's not really useful, in fact. Same thing with Mitt Romney. Actually, it's funny because Mitt leads you to Norwegian data, which are some songs apparently in Norwegian, Mitt theater, things like that. So, so quickly, what alternatives do we have to password authentication? And the thing is, maybe as long as we consider passwords usable, there is no real effort put into changing to other methods. So we get not really usable alternatives as face recognition, which is here marketed by Lenovo. And it's really funny when you just take a picture of your friend's face and hold it in front of his computer and it unlocks his session. So you can see it's really useless. Also swiping on the password, same thing with the smudges, etc. It's not really good. And otherwise, in general, basically, it's a much longer discussion, but if you want to apply things like trusted computing from end to end, and make sure that, the system asking for the password is really the system you think, and for the system to know that you are really the one giving the password and no one else, then hopefully we can find something less intrusive than these interfaces. So that's my talk, and I hope you have enjoyed it so far. Any questions? Yes?
Well, this is more for everyone here. Everyone does know we have like 325 microphones. I know that's right. And a camera.
I thought he was making it up, but you found a link to the actual product that fits that thing.
So, you may want to reset passwords.
Hey, good point. I hadn't looked into it, but anyway, thanks.
It's for cheating.
Questions for Sebastian?
What do you consider a safe place to save your password? If you have to write it down on something? Mobile applications or...
I wouldn't trust anything else than myself, and still it can be, you're not 100% sure, maybe people can get you drunk, etc., and reveal your password. So, so far I consider remembering it the least insecure option, but now I don't write passwords down either.
What is the typical time to parse the Wikipedia list and crunch it down? Is that a task that runs in hours or days or?
It takes a week and basically to do the 270 languages on a quad-core machine. So I think it's not really CPU power that's slowing it down, it's just disk, because it's dozens and dozens of gigabytes, which if you don't want to store waste storage on, then you would keep it compressed. And then maybe the decompression is also using some time.
I can also add to that, I've actually been nagging him quite a bit to make this new list. I told him that the last list was really useful, and I told him I want you to do it again. By that I actually mean do it again. So now I'm really, really happy.
So another question is, are you going to donate a machine to do it on a weekly basis?
We said you keep going to university.
More questions. I won't answer that one. More
How do you
questions.
solve the never-ending quote problem?
Sorry.
The never-ending quote problem. Like you said, invalid syntax, and somebody forgets to close some quote or something, and it just passes to the end of the file.
There is no absolute solution. It's just how to say, you do guesses on new data coming after that, and if it looks
Automatic, or is it something that you realize it is wrong and you correct?
no, I can't correct it manually, because if it happens, either you, like I said, skip lots and lots of data, so with the end result you wouldn't realize some data is missing, unless you know by heart every word that is in Wikipedia and look for it in the ending word list, but of course that doesn't happen. Or yes, because the words are cut on boundaries like the ones that are used for the Wikipedia syntax, you will just end up with strange words, and it's too late to correct it.
This is a list of all the words in Wikipedia, right?
Yes.
Do you also do statistics of how often they are used?
I have that data, yes. I haven't included it in the word list because then it's too big of an archive, but maybe, yes, if you really need it for research, we can discuss that, yeah. Okay.
More questions? Okay, well, Sebastian will also be with us furthermore today and for the rest of the conference. So by that, I would just like to say thank you, Sebastian, and the word list will be available very, very soon. And you also have the link up there, and of course, both the video recordings and also the presentations will be made available online as soon as we can possibly get them out. So, thank you.